Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox, and we're looking at day 3 of the COVID inquiry. And it is pretty much as we thought it was going to be. The SNP have been asked to hand over all the communications, all the emails, all the WhatsApps, so that the truth can come out, and they haven't. And unless these are come out, unless they are handed over, and unless they're published, then as I said before, this isn't an inquiry, it's a cover-up, it's a whitewash, and it's pointless. And so if they aren't prepared to hand these things over, I think they need to be basically arrested and prosecuted for contempt of court. And then maybe once they see one or two of them actually going to prison for a while, it may well be worth their while in handing over the truth. Of course it isn't. They would rather go and do 2 years for contempt of court than life for the corporate murder of 5,500 pensioners and old people in these homes, because that's how it is. It take the lesser of two evils. I'll get 2 years, I'll do a year, I'll be out, and that's better than the next 28 years or whatever you're going to get for it. Anyway, we'll take a look at this story to see how bad it is, and just knew from the day one this was ever going to happen, because they cannot afford for the truth to come out, because we all know how bad it is. Here goes. Right then, with day 3 of the COVID inquiry in Scotland going on, you have still the UK inquiry. Now, we know that the SNP have handed nothing over to the Scottish inquiry, but what's surprising is that despite Humza Yousaf standing there and saying, he was going to be completely open, honest and transparent, and he would hand over all the information requested, has he done that? This is to the UK inquiry. No, of course he hasn't, because he's a lying two-faced, pillock, really. He doesn't understand that he's likely to go to jail, possibly for a year. When this inquiry, the UK inquiry started, and they said, do not destroy, we want the information, do not destroy, and they haven't had it. And now they can go to court. They can take this. You can get a year in prison for this. But of course, for them, a year in prison is going to be better than life in prison. So I think that's what they're counting on. I'll do it. I'll go for prison for a year. But at least it isn't in prison for life for murder. Because that's where it is. When you look at evidence, sometimes it's the evidence that's not there. It's the gaps that tell you. Because the evidence that they will have made sure that went across will be carefully selected, filtered, washed, spun in such a way. It's what's not there is where the truth lies. And what they're not giving you is where the truth lies. And you have to ask why. Anyway, secretive SNP government berated for failing to supply WhatsApps to COVID inquiry as legal action is threatened against them. Humza Yousaf was blasted for his administration's alleged lack of cooperation. No, not alleged, actual lack of cooperation. He promised that they'd get the information and he won't do it. He daren't do it. He daren't send this information over because he knows if he does, people are going to jail for a long time. Anyway, Jamie Dawson KC claimed they'd refused to hand over key communications and they'd threatened legal action if they failed to do so. And I hope they do. Humza Yousaf has been blasted after his government failed to hand over key WhatsApp and private messages to the UK COVID inquiry. Did we think it would be anything else? They were told they had to do it. He said he would. He lied. He's lied to the people. He's lied to the press. He even stood in Holyrood in the chamber and he's lied to them. I mean, every time the guy gets up, you can just call him a liar now. I'll call him a liar. Humza Yousaf, you are a liar. And there's nothing he can do because I've got the great defence. I'm right. He is a liar. Anyway, Scottish Tory leader Douglas Ross brought this up at First Minister's Questions today as he demanded that the SNP leader come clean on why they had not supplied this to the inquiry. Previously, Mr Yousaf vowed to MSPs that he would be open and transparent when it comes to evidence. Never in a million years. This is the SNP. All they do is lie and deflect. They can't tell the truth. Truth would destroy them. But this position was not supported by Mr Dawson, who suggested that they may have to look at legal means to ensure they get all the information they asked for, and he also intimated that some key messages may have been deleted by government officials, which would be illegal. And they were told they were given the do not destroy, and so if they have destroyed, then that's contempt, and that's jail. And the great thing about contempt, funny law, you can have contempt, hand over those messages. No, okay, contempt. Then give you 14 days. That doesn't mean you come out of jail free. It means that after 14 days, you go back in front of the judge and he says, now will you give me that information? And you say, no. He goes, bang, 30 days. And you can keep repeating it ad infinitum. You can be in prison for the rest of your life for contempt because you're constantly being contemptuous of the court. Because every time you are, it's not the old offence. You don't get tried twice. It's a new offence of contempt. Great little law that. Basically, it means hand it over or just stay in jail. Nobody cares. Anyway, Dawson said, we asked the Scottish Government, the other significant Scottish public bodies involved in the COVID-19 response, including Public Health Scotland, that they provide us with details about the usage of informal messages, including but not limited to WhatsApps, about the management of the pandemic in Scotland, and also to provide copies of the messages themselves. And do you think they got them? Did you bugger? The Casey added that this information included about the nature and extent of such informal messaging, including in the groups that they were in. In other words, basically, we want to see the message, we want to know who it's from and who it's to, but we want to see everyone involved in that group to see who knew what the message was. Anyway, he confirmed that no clear or comprehensive responses emerged in the corporate statements from the Scottish Government and no messages were provided. And they never could be. They know that the content of those messages is so utterly devastating to the SNP. Sturgeon, Freeman, they'd both be in jail for life, for corporate murder probably. They know that virtually everyone at the senior echelon of that party is deeply involved. They'd be damaged, they'd be prosecuted. It would be horrendous for the party. The party would be standing there and people would see what it's done. Not even corporate manslaughter, possibly even corporate murder on a massive scale by the SNP. And they all knew what was going on. And that's why these messages ain't going to ever be found. It isn't an inquiry. It's a whitewash. It's a cover-up. And it's there to ensure that the likes of Nicola Sturgeon and Jean Freeman never see the inside of a jail cell. The way to do it is you go to the junior ones and you say, look, we're going to prosecute you. We're going to do this and you're going to get 5 years unless you hand over all your WhatsApp messages and tell us who they were sent to, the names of the groups and everything, and give me the name of your boss. And then you go to the boss. And if they do that, fine. Boom, they get their, they're free from prosecution. They're immune. Get their immunity. You go to the boss and you go boom, 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 and you do the same thing. And you go all the way up the tree till you get to the likes of Nicola Sturgeon and Jean Freeman. And then you have them. And if you've got all those messages and all those groups, you've got them. And they shit themselves. And then you throw them in the slammer, you shut that door, and you let them rot there for the next 30 years. Anyway, Mr. Ross attacked Mr. Yousaf for his administration failing to comply with these orders. He said grieving families deserve answers and full transparency from this government. Fat chance of that. He said in May this year, asked a direct question by a journalist, Humza Yousaf said if a request for messages, including WhatsApps, was made, the Scottish Government should absolutely be open and transparent. Even though, as he said it, he knew the words were crap because he dared, he couldn't, he wouldn't. There's no way. No way he's giving you what you want to hear, not what is actually going to happen. He went on. He said, in June, in this chamber, he said, WhatsApp messages, emails, signal messages, telegram messages, or whatever. He said, the man said that whatever will absolutely be handed over to the COVID inquiries and handed over to them in full. And the inquiry has heard this morning that this has not happened. Again, he's now lied to the people, to the press, and he stood in the chamber. Humza just stood in the chamber and said he would do it, and he didn't do it. He's a liar. Yousaf actually claimed that his government had been transparent with the inquiry. Another lie. And had handed over all the information they'd been asked for. Another lie. Including a statement from himself, but he said that he would ask the Solicitor General to look into the complaints. More lies. Can't help it, can he? Open mouth. Lies pop out. He added, I also expect every single minister and government official to comply with the do not destroy notices that were provided by the UK inquiry. That's his way of saying I hope every government and official destroys it right away so that there's no chance at all of anyone getting hold of these messages or we're all going to hang together. And the guy, they just know they're so deep in the shit. They know they've got these two and they daren't let the information out. They need to all be arrested, their phones snatched off them right now, taken, arrested, security set, taken to an undisclosed location and vigorously questioned over this. I would love to see them all, but it isn't going to happen. We all know this. It's just a whitewash, and that nothing will come over it, and they're going to get away with killing 5,500 people, and they're going to get away with it scot-free. It's like those National Socialist ones during the war that went west and escaped and walked free. Hamza Yousaf is no different from a guard in Sobibor. You know, oh, I was only obeying orders. Disgusting, filthy SNP are. Anyway, I'm going to round off and come up. Now, I've said from day one that if the WhatsApps and all these messages and that weren't handed over, weren't released, weren't made public so people could see, then these inquiries are entirely pointless. And if the only way for these things to be accessed and got is to start putting people in prison for very long periods of time, then that's what it must be. And once the junior ones start seeing people go to prison, let me tell you, those phones that we handed over, those messages we passed on, quick as you like, because they aren't going to take the rap for things that they had nothing to do with. Just because they knew, that makes them guilty after the fact, remember. That's the way the law works. If you're aware and you do nothing, you're guilty. But if you are the one that said, oh my God, and turn evidence, bang, you're in the clear, aren't you? They're only after the top. They're after the big boys, the ones making the decision. And ultimately, that's the likes of Freeman and Sturgeon. And let's see the pair of them in a court. Let's provide the evidence. Let's show the WhatsApps. Let's show the conversations they had. And let's televise it. Let's have the camera on their faces at all times. And let's see them utterly, utterly destroyed. She's just passed her driving test. Hey, maybe she'll never, ever drive a car because she'll be in a cell for the rest of her natural life, contemplating all those deaths that she may or may not have had a hand in. Careful, David. Have to be protecting yourself. But you know exactly what I mean. Anyway, I shall stop there. We shall keep looking at this. I'm not letting them off the hook. I can't abide any of them for what they've done. And I want to see them all prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But, of course, if the evidence doesn't come out, that is never going to happen. I have a feeling that that's always been the plan with these inquiries. Anyway, till next time, stay safe, stay well, and stay angry. Bye.